About a month ago, I did this video where I showed the process of putting together these big wall calendars that I have on my wall, and they have been working out so well for me. And I've had a couple of requests asking how I made these. So today I'm going to show you an easy way you can put together these wall calendars in any size using Canva. Now, I've done some tutorials using Canva in the past, and at that point they didn't have the functionality to actually do tables in Canva, so it was a bit of a long-winded process. But now, since then, they have a new tables feature, so I'll show you how to use that. And I'm also planning some other planner printable tutorials for you using Canva because it's easy for lots of people to access, and you can do a lot of things on the free version. So this tutorial today you'll be able to do using the free version, and I'm going to show you exactly how to make these wall calendars. So let's jump over to Canva. So what I've done is just go to canva.com, and what you want to do is figure out what size you want these to be. Now, think about whether you're going to get them framed. For me, this all started because I had one of these frames and I had the idea to do it from the frame. So I would recommend, if you're going to frame it, knowing what size your frames are going to be, because then you can straight away make it to those dimensions. Otherwise, measure the space. If you're just going to stick them up on the wall, measure the space that you've got and design it that way. So what we're going to do is up here in the top right, I'm going to click on Create a Design, and then down here it will say Custom Size. And what you want to do, you can see I did a little test here earlier, sometimes it might appear in pixels as default, so I usually change mine to centimeters, and for the frame I've got, this is the perfect size, so 33 centimeters by 95 centimeters. That's what size I did mine. But like I say, figure out how you're going to put them up, how you're going to display them, what space you've got, and go from there. So then I'm going to click Create New Design, and straight away you can see we've got this kind of long, thin document. And obviously the great thing about Canva being you're not restricted on sizes in that way, so I'm just going to save this up here as my big calendar. Okay, so to access the tables feature, what you need to do is go here to Elements on the left-hand menu, and there are now all these categories. So you've got your stickers, your shapes, your photos, and if you scroll down, there are charts and then there are tables. So if you click on See All on tables, then you've got different table styles. So for me, I had ones where each month was a different color. So I'm gonna base it from this template here. So I'm just gonna click it and it will import a 3x4 table into the space. So the next thing I want to do is make sure I've got the right number of rows and columns. So firstly, I'm just going to drag it out until it meets the margins, so I'm making the most of the space. I'm going to move it up here, just leaving room for a heading at the top. I usually put the months at the top. And then if I click in this middle cell here, you can see then I've got a little menu here and also a menu here. So if I click on this one at the top, you can see it says add column before or after, so it doesn't matter which to us. So what I want in these columns is I want 7 for the days of the week and then just 1 at the front for the month. So I want 8 in total. So I'm going to keep clicking and click add column before until I've got the right number of columns. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I want 2 more. Okay, and then we've got our header row at the top, which will have the days of the week, and then we will have our weeks running down the page. Now for 3 months, that's 13 weeks. So I need to add 10 more on here. So slightly time consuming, but not too bad. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I'm going to stretch this down to the bottom like there. And then what I'm going to do is if I click on this menu, you can see that it allows me to size the columns equally. And the same with the top menu, it'll size the rows equally. So we've now got the base of our table. However, these header rows, I actually do want to be smaller than the rest. But what I'm going to do first is start adding text so that we know what's what. So across the top here, this is going to be our days of the week. And if I click in any cell, it'll have a purple box around it, just like you would in Excel or Google Sheets, where you have a table-based program. It kind of highlights the cell. And if you start typing, it will type in that cell. Obviously, we need to zoom in now to see this properly because it is such a tall, skinny document. But you can see it's typed straight in the cell. And if we want to change our fonts and things, they're up here. So I'd recommend putting it on the one you want first. If we click on this kind of double arrow here, I'll highlight the whole table. Then I'm going to go up and change my fonts. So let's say I want this more sugar thin, which I've used before. Then maybe I'll increase the size to 20 and we'll see how we get on with that. So if I type Monday, Tuesday, and so on across the top, and you can tab across on your keyboard just like you would in any other table. Now what I'm going to do is drag this upwards. And that's all I really need for that column. Now, what you're going to want to do is get out a calendar to look at your dates. Now, the 1st of August, I'm going to do this August to October 2022 as I'm filming this. And August starts on a Monday, funnily enough. So I am just going to start doing all the dates. Leaving that first column empty because that's where we're going to write our month. Oops. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and it has 31 days. So then we would be on to September. So I'm going to change the colours and have a different colour for each month. But right now I'm just going to do the numbers. That one only has 30 days. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 30. It actually has 31 days, but because there's only one day left outside the week, I would actually put that on the next calendar. So I actually have this already printed, and the November to January one, it has the 31st of October, and then the rest of that week is November from Tuesday onwards. So that is how I would do it. Now, what I would like is if you click and drag and then let go of your mouse, you can highlight multiple columns. And if this was a program like Excel or Google Sheets, you could right click or find it up on the toolbar. You'd be able to merge that into one single cell so that it ran all the way down here, and I would type August in that. Now, you cannot do that on Canva at the moment, so we're going to do a bit of a workaround. So what we are going to do for now is I'm just going to drag this and make it smaller, let's say to about there, and I am going to leave that now, and I'll come back to that at the end. What I do want to do is even out these rows and columns again. So I'm going to click and drag to highlight this row here, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to size columns evenly. So notice I didn't highlight this one because I want this to be thinner. And then if I zoom out, I'm going to do the same again with the columns. I'm going to click and drag, highlight all of one column, and then right click and size the rows equally. So there you go. Now you have all completely even boxes for your dates. Now what I don't particularly like is having the dates in the middle. We want them in the top left so that this is functional and you can stick post-its or write on the board or whatever you need to do in the space. So I'm going to click and drag and highlight everything except our header columns. And then I'm going to go up to our text options at the top. So I'm going to go left align. I'm going to click that button here. And then this button here, which is all about your spacing and alignment and things, I'm going to click this button here, which is going to put it right at the top. So we've now moved all our numbers to the top left. So our headers and our numbers are exactly where we want them to be. Now I'm going to work on the colours. So for me, what I did was I did each month in a different colour. So I will drag down to, obviously I can't drag down to the 31st. So what I'll do first is the first complete 4 rows. Otherwise it's gonna take me into the next month. So I'm gonna let go of that. And then up here on the colour, I'm gonna go to my colours and I'm gonna select my pink that I usually use. But I actually want to make it a bit lighter. So if, for example, you have a colour, you know you want it to be similar to this, I would click that colour and then I would go up here to this plus button and you can essentially then drag this dot to make it lighter, brighter, whatever you want to do. So I'm gonna maybe do something like that. Fine, I don't want it to be too dark. I'm gonna highlight these last 3 days of the month and do the same thing. And once you've used a colour, it should appear up here under document colours. So I'm going to click that light pink and that now matches. I'm going to do the same for the next month. I want it similar to this blue, but again, we'll make it lighter. And again, click this blue. And then the last month I'm going to do in a yellow. So I'll just change the first and the second. So I'm going to click my yellow, but again, I'm going to make it a lot lighter. Let's say like that. Right down to the bottom. And that's the yellow. So we have our months separated now. It's visually much easier to see. I am going to make this header bar a coordinating colour. Probably make that the blue that I usually use. Okay, then this top one here, I actually don't want that. So I'm gonna click the colour and just click white. So that'll make that disappear. And then I am gonna fake this here. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to click table, and let's say this, the same template as we used. And I'm going to delete the rows and columns until we've just got 1 by 1. So I'm going to delete that column, delete that column, and the same with the rows. Delete the row, delete the row, delete the row. And then in this one, I am going to write August. Can't see that, so we're going to zoom in. I've spelt it wrong. There we go. And I'm going to change it so that it matches my other fonts and things I selected. And there we go. So I might go a little bit bigger with the month names, just because they're going to be right down the side. Maybe not that big. And drag that up. Then what I'm going to do is rotate it 90 degrees. Then if I zoom out a little bit so I can see August properly, I want to drag this and I'm going to put it over the other column. I'm just going to hide that underneath. Like that. Drag it down till it comes to the end of August. And then I'm going to highlight it and I'm going to make sure it's in that same, not that one, pink as the other one. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that and I'm going to copy and paste it. So right click and copy, and I'm going to right click and paste, and I'm going to drag it down over this month. So this will be our September. And I'm just going to play around with the position until I'm happy. And then click on it and I'm going to change it to match the blue. And then copy and paste it again. Whoops. Drag it down and this will be our October. And then click it and make it yellow. And then if I zoom out, we now have this super custom wall calendar that you can do your own colours, you can do your own fonts, your own sizes, however you want to lay it out on the page. Now for me, I usually just put a header on the top, but before that, I am quite happy with these kind of white borders breaking up the cells. But if you wanted something different, if you highlight the table, obviously we'll have to do these other ones separately, but if you click somewhere in the main table, then what I'm going to do is go up here to the borders and you can change the border style, you can change the border colour. So at the minute there just isn't a border, there's just a gap between the cells, which you can see in here. So if I was to change this one, you would see the text gets closer to the edge of the corner of the cell or further into the middle. It just puts a little margin around the edge. So I am going to drag it back a little bit just so you've got a bit more space. And then table spacing is going to put those cells closer together. So you might not want any gap like that. I quite like it. You might just want to drag it back like this and put a traditional border in. So I'm going to leave it and see what it looks like with a border. So if I clicked on that border in black and put the weight up, you can see because I only had that one cell highlighted, it's done it around that one. So what you would need to do, if I zoom you in a bit, you can see it's just done it around that one. So again, that's another option. It would do the individual cells, just make them stand out a bit more, but have this kind of funky white space in between. But if we undo that, let's say you wanted everything, you would, if you click in one of the cells, this double arrow will appear. If you click that, it's going to highlight everything in the table. And then whatever you do up here on the borders, it's going to actually do it around everything. So I can make a black border. I could play around with having the same colour borders in like darker colours depending to the colours of the months. But let's say I just do a black border, you can make it thicker. And then what you would do is you want this top one, you don't really want a border there, so you'd go back in and just turn the weight of that one off. That would get rid of that again. And then what you would do is go into these individual ones and just replicate what you did. Black, full borders, the weight is a 3. There we go, that matches nicely. Do the same on this one. border, click the colour and drag the weight. And the same on this one. Oops, wrong menu. Then what you might want to do is you might or might not be able to see the border of the cells behind here that we kind of put behind, kind of peeking out in places. I don't really want it to have any colour or lines on it at all. I just want it to be hidden behind. Now that we've got our spacing, we know where everything is. So if I double click in this top one here and click this top button, it's going to highlight everything. And then if I go to my borders, I am going to go into border style and turn the weight down to nothing. And I'm going to go to my colour and I'm going to click white or off, just colour off. And there you go, nothing should show now from behind. So that is now our calendar. What I would really like to do is just add another couple of elements. So for me, I'd quite like a heading on the top of here so I know just easily at a glance what this refers to. It might be that you want a different background colour, which you can easily do. You would just click in the white area, go to colour, and then let's say I wanted this cream instead of white, then you can easily do that. I'm going to put mine back to white. I just think it's clearer for me. But you can play around and do whatever you want with the background. I would like to add some text up here. So again, down this side, I'm going to click text and add a heading. And I'm going to drag it up here and I'm going to write August to October 2022. And then I'm just going to use this little button on the side to drag it and make it bigger. And I'm going to make it sit right in the middle. So about there, I'll have it, which means I can actually afford to bump the table up a bit. So if I zoom out, now what you want to do is you don't want to just move this because it won't move the ones on the side. So if you click and draw a table around everything, like draw a little box and let go, it'll have highlighted everything. And then you can click and drag it up the page. So let's say we want it about there. Then what I like to do is just add my company logo on the bottom. It's just personal preference because it's a work calendar. You could put an illustration or you could just leave it and you could decide, whoops, you could decide, okay, I am going to drag this down to the bottom, make your table bigger. You would need to obviously redistribute the sizes of your rows and adjust these sizes down the side, but that's easily doable. But for me, I am gonna add my logo in the bottom, so I've uploaded it. So you can upload any picture by clicking on upload media, and let's say this image here I wanted to upload for argument's sake. It'll appear in your images. I don't want that, so I'm going to get rid of it. But if I click my logo, then I can pop it down here at the bottom. I have got leftover space, so I'm going to show you how I would go about resizing the table, just in case you do want to do that. So what I would do is click at the bottom here, drag that down a little bit, and then you can see that we're going to need to redistribute these sizes again. So I want to click and drag all the way up to the first week. Then I'm going to right click and size rows equally. And that has just evened it out. Now you can see that we are going to have to just tweak our months. So if I drag that down so it's equal with the bottom, and then you just want to zoom in so you can see and just tweak where your months are. That one needs to come down a smidge. there. So you can see that it's pretty quick and painless to tweak it. So for me, I am happy with that. I would send that to print. Now to get it ready to print, what you want to do is, now depending on your printer, they will have different requirements. First, I will show you who I use to print. I don't have any agreements with them. I don't get any income if you use them, nothing like that. I will just show you the one that I found that was easy for me to use as an example. So the company I found was called Pixel to Print, and they did reasonable kind of big printing sizes, because some companies, if you're printing at a bigger size, it can get very expensive. So they do custom size posters, so that's what I did. Went to Shop Now, and if you scroll down, custom size posters, you can get whatever you want. So I just did 140 grams. That was fine for what I needed. It was going inside a frame anyway. And then the width, it's in meters. So it was 0.33 for me and 0.95. And it'll work out a price for you. So it was just £3.36 plus postage, and I got the next few in one go. So on each printer's website, they should have some kind of artwork guide. You can see here, it's on their top left, and it will detail all the requirements of how they want the files uploaded. So for example, they can print from a JPEG file or a PDF file. They tell you about color profiles. It can sound quite technical. However, I'm going to show you how I download from Canva. That's worked every time. So if you click on share and then download, it's going to give you download options. Now I like to do mine as a PDF. So if you do PDF print rather than PDF standard, then it's going to give you the option to add on the crop marks and bleed. And this is basically what printers use, where they print it on a bigger piece of paper and then they trim it down to size. It especially helps if you've got something overlapping the edge of the page. They can print right to the edge and then trim off the white excess without making it smaller than you wanted it, basically. So then color profile, select CMYK for printing, and then download. So if I open this now as a PDF, and I zoom you out so you can actually see, we have our big calendar ready to go. So however you wanted this to be, you've come up with your design, that's now saved on your computer. You would just go to your printer, and with this one, you check it out first, and then they ask you to upload the artwork. So if I go to the cart, you can see the process here is things are in the basket, and you fill out your billing details, you make the payment, then you complete the purchase and upload your file. So that is it. It's very, very simple to make these wall calendars, whatever size, shape you want them. I am finding them really, really useful. I will come back in the future and do a bit of an update on how I've been using them, but being able to see at a glance what's coming up is definitely meaning that I'm not forgetting things, and that I'm kind of regularly reminded of what I'm working towards. So I'm really, really happy with them, and it's been a kind of low cost option. I will link the printing company down below if you want to use it. I will also link the frames that I used from Amazon, and the pen that I have bought to write on them. It is a wet erase marker, and it won't smudge, but if you use a wet cloth, it then completely erases it. So it's been really, really great. If you want to check out some of the more advanced features of Canva, I will also leave a link down below to a free trial of Canva Pro. With their Pro version, you do get thousands more templates, pictures, elements, all these different kind of pictures, video clips, templates, everything you need to make all kinds of designs. So if you wanted to try it out, I will leave that link down below for you. But for today's tutorial, you can do all of it just on the free version. So thank you so much for joining me for another Planner Printable tutorial on a bigger scale this time, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye!